like this character in Georgia who's a disaster, and the governor's done nothing. He's done absolutely nothing. I'm ashamed that I endorsed him. But I look at what's going on, it's so terrible. But what happened in this election, Maria, I can't imagine has ever happened.
All right, well, thank you, Dr. Toomey, and certainly appreciate you and the whole team's continued efforts 24/7 as we fight the pandemic. We're going to open it up for some questions. Obviously, we've got General King here, Director Stallings, Dr. Toomey, and myself. Before I start taking questions or any of the other folks do, I'd like to briefly just make a quick statement on elections so we can stay focused on COVID before this Thanksgiving holiday. As you all know, the President and his team requested a recount in the state of Georgia. That is now underway. I continue to stand with the President, and I support his decision to ensure that every legal vote is counted. I have followed the law, and I will continue to do so. And as stated during last week's remarks, I support a sample audit of signatures, strengthening the photo ID law as it relates to absentee voting, and I firmly believe that all voting irregularities need to be fully investigated. We should follow the law, and we should continue to put Georgians first. Over the last several weeks, unfortunately, we've seen a lot of misinformation, and more recently, quite honestly, baseless attacks that are absolutely absurd and accusations made against myself and my family. These are ridiculous. They only seek to breed fear, create confusion, and sow discord amongst our citizens. Now more than ever, we must stand up for the truth, and we have to unite around our shared values. We must ignore those that want to divide us and find a way to overcome the challenges that we all face together. I'm committed to doing that. So thank you, and I'll be glad to open it up for some COVID-related
biggest endorsement
questions.
yet in Georgia's governor race, and today President Trump backed Brian Kemp in the GOP runoff. The president tweeted, quote, "Brian is tough on crime, strong on the border and illegal immigration. He loves our military, our vets, and protects our Second Amendment." Given the recent political climate, we want to know whether you think this endorsement will help or hurt Kemp in the race. You can cast your vote on 11alive.com/vote. With the results right now at the bottom of the screen. Kemp has positioned himself as an outsider and politically incorrect conservative. He often uses the president's name on the campaign trail. Earlier this evening, Kemp told 11 Alive why he thinks the president is now getting behind his campaign.
I think it's my record of standing up and fighting and doing what I say I'm going to do when I get in office, and I have plans that line up with what the president's doing.
Kemp is up against Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle in next week's runoff. Cagle tweeted this quote, "No hard feelings, real Donald Trump," which is the president's Twitter handle. "I look forward to receiving your endorsement against the Democrats in November, as I did for you." Wish Brian Kemp could say he did the same.
Wasting no time using his victory speech last night to set up what he calls a clear contrast between the two. He also said the tweet last week of support from President Donald Trump and the vice president's visit over the weekend poured gas on the fire and fueled the Kemp surge. Remember, he came in second place in the May primary, then went on to win last night by way more than any poll or pundit predicted. He's already painting Democrat Stacey Abrams as the candidate of the far left.
We are a red state.
And for that matter, we don't need the radical left telling us how to live, worship, or raise our family.
Our exclusive poll last week showed Kemp with a 2-point lead over Abrams if he won the nomination. That's considered a statistical tie. Casey Cagle congratulated Kemp in a tweet last night, and Governor Deal tweeted that Republicans need to unite behind Kemp.
Secretary
All right,
of State
Jennifer, thank you.
oversaw a complete audit which revealed significant errors made in several counties, including Floyd, Fayette, Douglas, and Walton. It is important for Georgians to know that the vast majority of local election workers did their job well under unprecedented circumstances, and I thank them for their service. However, it's quite honestly hard to believe that during the audit, thousands of uncounted ballots were found weeks after a razor-thin outcome in a presidential election. This is simply unacceptable. I've heard directly from countless Georgians. They expect better and they deserve better. It's important to note that this audit only looked at ballots, not the signatures on the absentee applications or the signatures on the ballot envelopes. The Georgians I've heard from are extremely concerned about this, so I encourage Secretary Raffensperger to consider addressing these concerns. It seems simple enough to conduct a sample audit of signatures on the absentee ballot envelopes and compare those to the signatures on applications and on file at the Secretary of State's office. This morning, the Secretary announced his support of strengthening photo ID requirements for absentee balloting. Voters casting their ballots in person must show a photo ID, and we should consider applying that same standard to mail-in balloting. I have heard from many members of the General Assembly, and I appreciate their input and share their concern. I look forward to working with Lieutenant Governor Duncan, Speaker Ralston, and members of both bodies to address the issues that have been raised over the last several weeks. Earlier today, Secretary Raffensperger presented the certified results of the 2020 general election to my office. Following Judge Grimsberg's ruling yesterday, state law now requires the governor's office to formalize the certification, which paves the way for the Trump campaign to pursue other legal options in a separate recount if they choose. Georgia has runoff elections for 2 U.S. Senate seats and a public service commissioner scheduled to occur over the next several weeks. We demand complete explanations for all discrepancies identified so that our citizens will have complete confidence in our elections. In the runoff election, we cannot have lost memory cards or stacks of uncounted ballots. We must have full transparency in all monitoring and counting. Every legal vote must be counted, and the security of the ballot box must be protected. As governor, I have a solemn responsibility to follow the law, and that is what I will continue to do. We must all work together to ensure citizens have confidence in future elections in our state. Thank you, and God bless.
Before?
Earlier today, Secretary Raffensperger presented the certified results of the 2020 general election to my office. Following Judge Grimsberg's ruling yesterday, state law now requires the governor's office to formalize the certification, which paves the way for the Trump campaign to pursue other legal options in a separate recount if they choose. We demand complete explanations for all discrepancies identified so that our citizens will have complete confidence in our election.